Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
All of the following events are told truthfully, and has not been told with any exaggerations except from the original storyteller. Be My Dad in 1988. 32-years-old trucker on the route from Amsterdam to Iraq. Deliver parts for a manufacturing plant for Saddam Hussein. Enter Iraq. Get stopped by Border Patrol. The strongest currency in this area is Kent brand cigarettes and adult books as well as whiskey. Negotiations are usually going like this. Angry police border officers are controlling the documents. At this point does not voluntarily offer any goods. They are persistent and threaten to have the sealed loading area opened up. Ask them if that's really necessary. At this point, they usually ask what you have to offer. Border Patrol mostly asked for whiskey and Kent cigarettes. Police officers were mostly requesting adult booklets. Give them what they want. Move on into Iraq. Dead people are hanging from poles in the hundreds. Whole country smells like petrol. Need to refill gas. Gas station is literally covered with several inches of gas. WTF is this? Tank guy comes along in rubber boots and fills up car. Pay him in European adult books. He loves it and tells me to come again when leaving. Gas station has no backflow protection. Once the tank is full and fuel starts spilling over the gas, guy is coming again with a lit cigarette in his mouth and unplugs the fuel hose. Continue towards my destination at Kirkuk. Dead people are hanging from poles by the hundreds. Arabic stuff written over their bodies or on signs. Horrible experience, but get paid really well, so keep doing that route. People are shitting on the streets with other people around. Seems to be the most normal thing around here. Visit a marketplace. People just put food on the ground. For example, meat is just stacked on the street and sold like that. You don't believe this without witnessing it firsthand. Meat and other foods were literally put on the dirty street and sold from there. They didn't even bother to put it on a table. Leave the marketplace looking for something to eat. Try to find a restaurant that looks like it is at least meeting minimum requirements for hygiene. Find one, eat something. Some hours later, I have watery, smelly diarrhea and stomach cramps. At this point, I have to mention, Iraq is not only a region with a lot of petrol, like overflow of petrol. So much they had to burn it, and it was worth less than water. Also, it is around 120 Fahrenheit, 50 Celsius. You couldn't drink Iraq water either. Everything's giving you diarrhea. I learned that during my first trips. The only possible thing to consume there was original import Coca-Cola. Remember drinking 50 cans of Coke without having to piss once over the course of one day. I was just sweating so much in this burning hot hell. Continue to my destination. My truck is being opened. Goods are inspected. Everything seems fine. People sign the documents, etc. Finally get to leave this mess. Make my way back to Amsterdam. Get stopped at the Iraq-Turkish border again. Something with the documents is not okay. The goods were not correctly inspected or signed by the company who ordered the parts. It's this bull again .jpg. They start to make a fuzz. I'm being sent to the next higher up. Apparently it's a serious issue. Have to phone my boss in the Netherlands to try to resolve it. Spend hours trying to establish a phone call. He says he can't do anything about it. I gotta go back to Kirkuk and redo the paperwork. Hang up. Now I'm throwing a fit and finally get sent to the Border Patrol end-boss guy. His office looks like it's made out of pure gold. Seems to be a pretty important guy. Asks me where I'm coming from, etc. Tell him I'm coming from Amsterdam. Finally asks me for whiskey. I still have 6 quality brand bottles hidden inside the motor area. His eyes light up. His mood turns from important authority figure with no time for derangements like this to, we are best friends since 20 years. I bring him the whiskey. He is super friendly now and tells me if I will ever have a problem when coming to Iraq, I shall just mention his name. He orders someone to do all the paperwork for me. He tells me some stories about how he met with some ministers for building hotels and other things. Talk for at least 2 hours before someone comes in with all the documents ready. Thank him for everything. From that point on, his name was actually a free pass whenever I had an issue. Did that route for the next coming 6 months, always delivering more parts to Saddam's new power plant or whatever it was. Now leaving the country back to Amsterdam. I'm a contractor for one of the biggest haulers in Amsterdam. The truck is my own. I'm free to move freely when I have no cargo with me, no deadlines. Always make stops in European countries to pick up women. Remember, it's 1988. There was no Tinder, no mobile phones, nothing. There are disgusting truckers, like smelly, fat, grapist kind of guys. I just did the job because I wanted to be able to travel through Europe. Also, the pay was very decent. One 7-day trip was enough to spend the rest of the month freely. Make a break in Gellert Spa and bathing. Budapest, Hungary. Go have an extended bath in the hot springs. See a cutie pie with her friend. Approach her. God, I have heard this story at least 100 times from both my dad and my mom. Boring, but still gonna retell. She smiles. I smile too. I didn't shave for months. I look like a Taliban terrorist. This woman must be dumb to smile at me. Still, I'm diving into her and asking her in broken English where she is from. Germany. I'm disgusted. I hate this country, so I swim away. The two women are confused as F. A couple minutes later, I reapproach them. Ask them if they are from East or West Germany. They tell me East Germany in a very shy manner after my first blunt reaction. Oh, East Germany. That's nice. The women now think I'm actually an idiot because West Germany is a well-regarded, rich country, whereas East Germany is a communist shithole with Stasi mass surveillance. Doesn't matter to me. West Germans are arrogant pricks. Just can't stand them. East Germany citizens are down to earth and mostly nice people. End up hanging out with the women. Brought one of them to my truck. After a night together, we exchange our mail addresses and promise to keep in contact. Everybody goes his way. After that, the women will write me love letters for 2 years without establishing actual meetings. We even agree to marry. All just over this single encounter. In those 2 years, I have big trouble in my home country. I write her back the promise to marry her, but I can't come because I have a lot of problems to resolve first. Right now, I'm not working anymore as a trucker. I joined my brother in his political movement as an opposition. This movement is gaining huge traction and has thousands of followers. It's not just a political party, it's a guerrilla party. We stand against capitalism, and our course of action is to murder vast amounts of high-profile bankers, politicians, and everybody that we think is the reason for the demise of our country. We lose many of our friends as well. Not going to tell too much about this part of my life. This would fill up a book itself. Fast forward another 2 or so years. We put our country close to civil war. Finally, my brother was identified as the leader of this organization and headhunted. He gets caught alive. He is brought to court. Whenever he is assigned a judge, the judge is being assassinated. This loop continues a couple of times. Prosecutors and judges are being murdered time and time again. Nobody wants to lead the process anymore. Despite all of this, our organization is losing. We just can't deal with the government. We have high numbers of casualties on our side. Also, a lot of our political friends are jumping ship and becoming traitors. There is no more hope. We did put a needle into the government, but we did not bring real change on a big scale. My brother is finally lost. Nobody hears anything about him. We are told he is imprisoned, but we are never shown any sign of being alive. At a certain time, we are getting a tip to where my brother is being imprisoned and tortured. I walk into that certain police station. At this point, I have seen so much death that I am not scared to die myself. I am alive, but dead inside. I plan to die tonight. I am unarmed but determined. Upon mentioning my brother's name, everybody is instantly in awe. I tell them that I'm his brother and I am here to see him now. People are sweating. We are the most anti-police and anti-government party you can imagine. Everybody in the country knows my brother and his party. Going into a police station and identifying yourself as a member of that party, nonetheless as the leader's brother, can be considered self-termination. This is like walking into a police station with a self-termination belt. Police guys expect me to pull a gun and start a massacre at any second. Everyone is in shock. It's a wonder that I'm not being shot upon mentioning who I am. But I am determined to either see my brother today or die. I tell them that I want to see my brother right now. Police guys are pissing their pants and letting me through. I'm being sent through some higher-ups until I get to the police station leader. I tell him who I am, and that I want to see my brother right now. The police boss guy accepts my requests and leads me to my brother's prison cell. I can't recognize him. I asked him if it was him. He can barely talk. He is crouched, weighing what looks like 90 pounds. I'm breaking down and crying. With the fall of the wall, I got to meet the East German girl again. She brags about becoming a lawyer. I already had a bad feeling. She gets assigned as one of the prosecutors in the case against my brother. I am still one of the execs of our opposition. Tell everybody not to hurt her. They call me a traitor. With love in my head and fear in my belly, I decided to do the worst. Kidnap the German girl to save her from future assassins. Off to Iraq. Mention the name of the border guy gives me a free pass for everything. Fast forward a bit. My brother is being processed again in an anonymous court. He is being sentenced to death 7 times. The verdict is treason, murder of state people, etc. A couple of people on his death row are being executed. There are just 2 more in front of him until it is his time. Try everything to stop his death row. Meanwhile, my future wife is sending me love letters asking me to marry her. We are fighting with all we have. The other 2 people are being executed. My brother is next on the line. We are having petitions. We are trying to establish contact directly with the Attorney General, as he can pardon prisoners. My brother is being given a date for his execution. My parents and I both lose hope. I am planning to go off with a bang after my brother is being executed. We have fought for this country, for change, for the betterment and for equality. We have fought the ugly face of corruption and mafianism with their own weapons. This is what we get for all we have sacrificed. Just few days before his planned execution, the Attorney General officially repeals all executions. Executions are still possible by law, but all death penalties are converted into lifelong imprisonments by decree. My brother's 7 times death penalty is now converted to 560 years in prison. This day is maybe the brightest day in my life. Only the future birth of my sons will make me happier. Fast forward to another government change, 6 years. The new government is left-leaning. My brother's guerrilla party was radical Marxist-Leninist. New president is converting my brother's 560 years imprisonment into 7 years. Fast forward another 6 months. He is a free man. He is a free man ever since and has never had any political aspirations ever again. He doesn't really talk about it, but he told me what they have done to him. He was being put into a cell where he could neither sit nor stand up. He was repeatedly beaten, spit on, burned, cut. Still has a lot of scars from this time. He said after a couple of weeks, he could not feel anything anymore. He was in a state of being awake but not conscious. The worst thing was the cell. Around 4.5 feet in height, 1.5 feet in depth, just broad enough to fit his body in. You can't sit, you can't stand. Whenever he talks about the cell, you see the horror in his eyes. They never broke him. He never said anything. He never even admitted his name. At this point, it's maybe noteworthy that my brother is and was the smartest person I have ever known. He finished school speaking 3 languages fluently, and scored highest in his Abitur tests and was eligible for scholarships and admission to any school he wanted to. He decided to fight for his country and against the corruption that was blatantly stealing from its citizens. In retrospect, he belittles his efforts and sums it up like this: I was a stupid kid and I thought I could overthrow the government. In reality, his genuinity and his belief in change gained a traction strong enough for the government to be seen as a threat. Back to my own life. It's the year 1990 or 1991. The German wall is falling. East and West Germany are uniting. I get to see my girl again. She has a son now. At first I think it's mine. But to shorten the story, she had a baby from a rando in the meantime, and somehow tricked me into still marrying her. That boy is a naughty brat, and I'm raising him like a man. End up moving to Germany with her anyway. We marry. We have nothing but us. My profession is construction, so I started working at a company my wife found me. We start to build up our existence. I tell her I want a kid. We're having a baby. I'm 35 years old, and I'm finally having a baby. It's a boy. Fast forward 9 months, the happiest day of my life. My son is born. 26 years later, he will write a Greentext on a Hawaiian anonymous picking forum about my life. I'm having big plans for our lives, and I have ambitions. At first start working by myself with 2 employees, but Germany just doesn't have people who know this niche well. There's huge demand for my specific construction branch, but only a couple German companies have the know-how and personnel. In my home country, this is daily business. I plan on bringing people via work contracts to have everything sorted out from the legal side. We start out with 20 people, and we pay around $3,500 in advance per person. Once they arrive, they are working like bees. After a year, my company has 80 employees and the money is overflowing. The peak year is 1993. We have 120 employees and make around $6 million that year. I need organizational structures. The workers know their job perfectly well and do a perfect job. My circle of action is covering most of South Germany now, but the paperwork is lacking. We are working from 5:30 in the morning to 1 o'clock at night, but I still don't have time to collect the money. I'm trying to ramp up the bureau with capable people, but my wife is getting jealous and accusing me of just wanting sex friends. At this point, the organization is just 3 people. Me, my wife, and a secretary supervising construction sites all over South Germany, as well as 120 employees. I'm working like crazy, though, so things work out. At this point, the German police are after my ass. These Germans are raiding our house. I can't even speak German properly at this point, and I'm intimidated. No search warrant. They are just coming in as 8 people and sniffing everything. Back in the day, I didn't know how to defend myself. I thought it's the German police, and that's how it's supposed to be. They even search our private rooms. A woman police officer is finding some hidden adult books under my clothes. These Germans are having a giggle over it. They leave a mess in our apartment for us to clean, but I swallow it. From there, the shit show starts. At the moment, I have around 20 cars. We have housing for the employees in 3 different cities. We have a warehouse in Dresden and a big one in Munich. By law, the employees I brought from my home country are only allowed for a certain period of time, and also they have to be assigned to specific construction sites. The laws are super rigid, and we have to get 40 official signatures before we could bring one single person from my home country. The paperwork necessary was incredible, and to top it all, they just wouldn't let go. The construction sites are continuously raided by police trying to find a mistake. At the same time, they supervise all of our phone calls. At this point, I fast forward a little to the courtroom that will be taken some years from now. The police presented us with 22 ring folders full of phone surveillance they had collected. But back to where I was, things are getting out of hand. It is becoming obvious they are trying to destroy me with their full force. I'm contributing almost $2 million into Social Security, as well as the financial office per year. Yet they are trying to bring me down again. It gets so absurd, they are even following me with a helicopter. I am driving with my wife to a construction site. There's a helicopter over us. My wife is in disbelief, and so am I. I turn around and drive 10 kilometers in the other direction, still following us. At one point, they just come as close as a couple dozen feet and film us with a camera. What the hell is going on? I'm running a construction business and not selling drugs. The German raid is unbelievable, though. There are dozens of police officers just prosecuting my company via surveillance, raids, etc. Leading a company with 120 employees could fill probably another book. But having a government force after you trying to destroy you on top of that makes running it successfully not really easier. All the problems and stress of the company are starting to take a toll on me. I'm starting to relieve stress by going into pubs and drinking. I'm not just drinking a bit, I am drinking heavily. My stepson is being a brat, even though I am raising him in the old-fashioned way, the way I was raised by my dad. I am working like a maniac to keep up with the company, and my wife is being a stressful mistress. We are making money by the millions, yet she is sabotaging my efforts, or at least I feel that way. She doesn't see the big picture. My German is still really bad. I just can't do the paperwork. I beg her to help me. I already do everything. We are earning money by the millions, of which a good margin is staying in our pocket. But for God's sake, take care of the paperwork. Despite my best intentions, when I'm drunk, I just can't hold myself together. I have been through too much, and the stress needs an outlet. The worst thing is, alcohol is a catalyst for my temper. When I come home drunk, I am not only beating my stepson, but also my wife. I regret it. I apologize. I pity myself, but it happens again and again. At one point, this will become a regular occurrence. The stress is too much. Things are going downhill. We have moved to an above-average house in a nice area, but the evenings are spent drunk, throwing a fit, and finally beating my wife. When I'm having a tantrum, it can hit anyone. At one point, I did not find the TV remote. I went to my 8-year-old son's room and asked him where the remote is. He was sleeping, so I woke him up, drunk, aggressive. He didn't know, so I smacked him. His childhood was horrible. A kid seeing his mother being beaten by his dad, that breaks him. There are just 2 people in the world the son has real, genuine trust to, and this is his parents. When he sees his dad beating his mom, this trust is broken and will stay broken for the rest of his life. Nevertheless, life goes on. The periodic drunk beatings are hitting everyone, mainly my wife. But humans get used to it, and once they did, it is very unlikely to have the power to make a clear cut. Nevertheless, the company is running financially well. Just the police and government entities have a petty problem with a stranger making a pretty penny in this country. So the Germans are having a raid once again. This time they do have a search warrant, and they are taking everything with them. All folders, the computer, everything. They take me too. I'm being imprisoned. My wife is currently pregnant with our 3rd kid. We have a shitload of people who want their money, and once our clients will sniff what happened, they will instantly stop all payments. I'm staying in prison for 6 months. After that, I'm being let go for a deposit of $100,000. Needless to say, the company was destroyed. A headless company can survive 4 weeks, maybe 6, with my wife trying to manage the urgent problems. But 6 months later, there was nothing left. No money, no cars, no one. It turns out they found some flaw with our paperwork that warranted to put me into jail for risk of absconding. After 6 months, they ended their prosecution, telling me everything was okay. This country is a joke. They destroyed my whole life, everything I built, for no reason. I wanted to fight, go to the highest courts and press charges for compensation. But our son was born, we were deep in debt, and I did not have the freedom to fight for my rights. I let it go. The Germans had won. They had destroyed me. Well, congratulations. It was surreal. A couple of my employees went on the plane voluntarily after their visas expired. Some stayed in Germany. After they were found by police, I was charged 30,000 euros per person. It was 3 of them, for their deportation. 30,000 for a plane ticket, and I was liable to pay that. After my company filed for bankruptcy, I added a private bankruptcy on top of that. So it's 1997. I have nothing left. My marriage is awful. I have a stepson that I hate, and 2 real sons that are my life. So I stood up and worked by myself. I had enough experience to earn a decent living of around 80,000 a year alone, or with an occasional co-worker that I employed. The drinking continued, though, and it all peaked around the 2000s, where I beat my wife and broke her nose. She took my firstborn son with her and ran away. The youngest one stayed with me. I never touched him. To this day, he doesn't even know the whole ordeal happened. Luckily for him, he remembers none of these dark times. A week goes by and she does not respond to anything. I don't know where they went. I leave her a message. I'm going to kill myself now. I send her a photo of me at the railway station. She finally responds. We have a last chance sort of agreement. She comes back to me when I promised to never drink 1 single drop of alcohol again. That was 2001. To this day, the 17th of January of 2017, I have not touched alcohol again at all. We managed to pull our marriage together, but the scars stayed. My older son does not forget. He will keep the scars of the cruelties I made him witness. The oldest, the stepson, went on to smoke marijuana all day, every day. Our last contact was in 2010, where he had a fistfight over his drug problem. Right now, my neat son is 26 years old and has finished his studies in architecture. We reopened the construction business in 2015 and are running on an average of 20 employees. I am 61 years old now, and with age, the temperament has left me. I am together with my wife for almost 30 years now, and it all started in Hungary when I was a truck driver. I don't know what the rest will hold, but one thing is sure. Everything that was told here was told with 100% accuracy. Thank you for reading.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.